Today, I am very excited because today I have Mr. W. Scott Stornetta, who is a father of blockchain, with me for a podcast. So let's see. He will join shortly. Hello. Hi, Scott.
Good
Hello.
morning.
It's evening for me, but good morning. I'm really very excited that you joined my podcast. So, though you need no introduction, but still for my audience, I will just give one line introduction. He is Mr. W. Scott Stornetta. He and Dr. Harvard jointly invented the technology blockchain. So we have father of blockchain with us. Hello, Scott.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here, but it's a little hard to live up to that kind of introduction.
Anything you want to you want to introduce yourself?
No, I'm just saying you've already over given me too high a bar. Anything else I should say is I just want
You
people to lower their expectations.
you have the high bar. I mean, that's for sure. Scott, so should we start our podcast with the questions? I'm really excited. Uh,
Um, yeah, again, it's always a pleasure to talk about the work that Dr. Haber and I did and how it plays a role in a pretty flourishing ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. So that actually my first question will be, which I always wanted to ask you, that is, I mean, how the vision of blockchain came into your mind? What was the business problem or the industry problem you were trying to solve? Uh, if you walk through.
Sure. So it's interesting that you talk about the business problem because the beauty of the situation that Dr. Haber and I were in, we were both research scientists at part of the old Bell Labs system, where so many important things were invented, the transistor um, among them. And we didn't have to have a business problem to be allowed to do research. And so what we said was we think there is a coming social problem that we would like to attack. And that was all our management needed to hear. And so for us, it was the social problem of the fact that as all the world's records were becoming digital, we realized that there would be no true way to know whether a document was its original form or it had been altered just before you viewed it. There would be no way to tell, for those that are technically oriented, old bits from new bits. And we said, if that's going to be the case, it's going to be chaos because no one will know what to trust anywhere with respect to documents. And so for us, the idea was how do we create an immutable record, an electronic record that everyone in the world could agree as to its authenticity and make it a single source of trust or truth. Okay, that was the problem that we were attacking. In other words, it wasn't just about finance or cryptocurrencies, it was about every record that humans
Mhm.
interacted with. How do you
Mhm.
know whether you can trust the record's authenticity? That was the problem for us. Now, you ask about how it came to be. It's a good story, and I apologize because I like to tell the story.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
So Dr. Haber was the more senior cryptologist. I had just come on board, but I explained to him why this was going to be such a problem down the road. And I had a PhD advisor when I was at Stanford, and he taught me that the key to making a contribution was to work on a problem before all the smart people got to work on it. He says, you got to be there early before the smart people come. And so I said to Stuart, let's work on this now before everyone else realizes why this is going to be an important issue, and then maybe we can make a contribution. At any rate, so we started working on a system that you could use to basically register all your documents and have proof of their origin date. The problem was it still required you to have a trusted third party, someone that you would just have to take their word for it. That there was that was like the sticking point. And I said to Stuart, "This is good, but it's not enough to really change the way the world works. We need to find a way to create a system that doesn't depend on a trusted third party." And so we work on this for several weeks, and we, can't seem to make much progress. And finally, Stuart sort of pulls me aside and says, I don't think there is a way to remove the need for a trusted third party. But since we've spent all this time working on this problem, I'd like to get something published. So why don't we write a paper proving that you have to have a trusted third party? And so, I was a little disappointed, but I said, okay, let's work on that. And so we start to write this proof of why there always has to be a trusted third party. And it was actually in the process of writing the proof that we realized you could remove the need for a trusted third party. Um, and my particular contribution to that came one night while my wife and I and our children were waiting in line at a restaurant. And I'm not a very sociable person. So when I should have been talking to my wife, I was reviewing in my mind the proof. And the proof went something like this. If two people collude on a document, the only way to prevent that from happening is have a third person sort of looking over their shoulder.
Mhm.
But then what if they draw that third person into the conspiracy? Well, then you need a fourth person looking over the shoulder of the third person. And so the only way to prevent it is you'd have to just keep doing that forever and ever. And our proof was basically saying that's impossible. And so, because it would lead to what theorists call a reductio ad absurdum, an absurd result. And it was while I was reviewing that in my mind, I said, because obviously you can't have, everybody looking over everybody's shoulder. And then I realized right at that moment that you, in fact, could have everyone in the community looking over everyone else's shoulder. And that's really what the idea of the blockchain was. And so it came out of, we had admitted defeat that we couldn't achieve the solution. And so we were going to at least prove that no one else could solve this problem either. And it was in writing out that proof that we realized that our proof that you couldn't do it wasn't a roadblock. It was, in fact, the pathway to how to do it. That was a very happy day for me.
Yeah, it was great. Like nice to hear this story. I mean, I was wondering about one thing. Like nowadays, this immutable database concept is there, right? Amazon's QLDB and other things. How those are different from blockchain? And regarding this immutability thing, why? I mean, I was just wondering why can't we use a traditional database and just don't give any edit permission to anyone, uh, maybe one admin user or something. I mean, how that won't work and how I mean
Right.
how that is
Okay.
different.
So you're saying just create a non-editable database, a database where no one has edit permissions Isn't that the point that you're making?
Yeah, and also having timestamp, like taking the system timestamp and
Of
appending it.
course, taking the system timestamp, but then you just said the whole thing that unravels it. Maybe having one admin that sets that permission
Mm-hmm.
so that nobody can edit. Well, why should you trust that one admin?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole problem of the trusted third party. And so, what we essentially said is you have to turn the problem upside down. You have to make it so that everyone is essentially in the same position and everyone is watching all the other players. Only when you do that do you invert the problem so that there's not this one trusted admin. It's removing that one person from the system that is the hardest part. And so there's an old saying, a Latin phrase, sed quis custodiet ipsos custodes. And translated, it says, but who will guard the guards themselves? Who's guarding the guards?
Yeah.
And the it was phrased, 2,000 years ago by a man named Juvenal, and he posed it as a paradox, essentially, okay, that there's no way to solve this problem. But in fact, with the blockchain, you've found a way for everyone to be guarding the guards.
So that brings another question into my mind. That is, when we are talking about centralized or decentralized architecture, like everyone is guarding the guards. Like, won't it be difficult to maintain a governance strategy? Like at the age of AI, then anybody can break into it, hack it. How we are making sure that everyone is guarding the guards, but they are not sneaking in. Uh,
Well, it's because the record is visible to everyone. If everyone can view what everyone else is doing, then people are alert when a tampering takes place, an effort to tamper. It's it's creating such transparency and making everyone a guard
mhm.
that no one can get away with anything.
Okay. And what about privacy in that case? Like, suppose, yeah. So monetary transaction, currency transaction, we may need our privacies, right? I don't want to some other person know that how many cryptos I have, right? How we are maintaining that.
Right. So the privacy issue, first of all, I want to separate the contribution that Stuart and I made, which is
Mm-hmm.
just one thin but essential layer,
Mm-hmm.
versus what various cryptocurrencies do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because we didn't invent cryptocurrencies, we just invented the underlying data integrity mechanism. That's
Mm-hmm.
really the blockchain layer that cryptocurrencies sit on top of. And so for us, privacy was never an issue because what we were placing into this blockchain data structure was just proof about a document, not the contents of the document. In other words, what we created is what people today would call a hybrid blockchain,
Okay.
where the private data is off chain, but the proof of the private data is on chain. And so
Okay.
um, for us, the blockchain layer has no privacy issues because you can select what you want off chain and you can select what you want to remain on chain. Now, various cryptocurrencies have built their layers on top of that, and they've made their own decisions about the trade off between privacy and transparency. So it's not that I have a solution to all of that. It's simply that our more limited base layer contribution had no privacy issues attached to it. What others choose to build on top of that, they're making trade offs in that whole privacy versus transparency world. So maybe you're interviewing me under false pretenses, and I'm not really the person you want to talk to. But that's all I can contribute.
No, no, no. It is fine. Like I was wondering how things are connecting. I mean, I understood the cryptocurrency part and all. Now I have a query on the immutability part. So, I have very less knowledge about this topic. So, what I read is like for a blockchain to be immutable. So the thing is, if a transaction happened, if it is final, if I have to make it in the previous state in a traditional database, an admin user can go and modify it. But in a blockchain, a reverse and same amounted transaction has to happen, right? Just to get back to the state. Now, for a currency transaction, I still get it that I am sending someone 100 rupees, 100 bucks. If it has to be reversed, they have to send me back. But my question is, if we, what other fields this blockchain can be used? And in one field, I have question actually in our place. Uh, right now things are like property mutation, property registration. These things the authority is trying, exploring to have it on blockchain. Now I have a query. If any error happened during this registration process, right, then it is not a monetary transaction only, it is a government, all this procedure is there, right? And both parties or all parties are present in the in the registration part. Now, if somehow any error happens, currently what happens, we have to raise a correction request and it is manual documentation process, right? But if it is in blockchain, is it like it has to be I sold someone a property, some mistake happened there, then that person, if has to it has to be corrected, that person has to sell the property again to me. Then again we have to do a corrected transaction, something like that. And won't it be difficult to have it like, I mean, what is your thought on it? I mean.
Well, again, each situation is a little bit different, but there are two guiding principles here. Okay.
Mhm,
And the one is when we talk about the record being immutable, what we really mean is it is an append only record.
mhm,
You cannot change any prior action, but you can append something to this continuously growing immutable record, okay,
mhm.
that in effect reverses the transaction. The
Okay.
distinction is simply that it is fully public and fully transparent.
Mhm,
You don't have to say, well, there was a mistake made on this, and so we fixed it, but you don't have to worry about it because we erased the old and we put in the new. Just trust us, we did it right. That's the old system. Okay. This
mhm,
system just says what has occurred is immutable,
mhm,
but we can append
mhm,
essentially a footnote that says what was previously done has been agreed on by all parties to have been an error, and therefore we're appending this additional piece of information that makes the correction. So it's that people have a transparent, publicly viewable record of the historical sequence of events. Doesn't mean that the outcome can't be changed. It's that the efforts to change it are completely transparent and publicly viewable.
oh,
So immutable is not quite what we mean. It's kind of a shorthand for the concept. It means that it is immutable up until that point, but it can always be added to. But you have the entire record of what was originally done, why
mhm,
it was a mistake, how the mistake was corrected, and no one can ever take that offline and just surreptitiously change it without it being visible to everyone.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I guess my point is, it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be cumbersome. It doesn't need to really slow things down. It just needs to be added to rather
Mhm.
than replacing. And it needs to be added to in a completely public, meaning transparent, anyone can verify it way.
Okay, okay, got it. So it is not like the reverse registration or operation has to be done. Rather, we can have a correction note on it.
Exactly. You can just add a correction note, but everybody is able to see it. And everybody sees the sequence. There was a mistake made. Here's the correction note. Now move on.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, nice. That actually changed my perspective there. And what other areas do you think, I mean, according to your opinion, it can be used apart from crypto and transaction?
Well, again, any situation where transparency will help make
Mhm.
records more trustworthy. And so, for example, um, we would like to see all of the accounting systems
Mm.
take place in real time, and then the reconciliations of
Mhm.
accounting records, rather than going back and changing things, should just be an additional footnote. Okay.
Mhm.
That makes everybody more comfortable that the records have been kept properly. And I think particularly with government records, it's
Hmm.
important to know that they have been created when claimed and not altered since, because it's not just today's transactions, it's the whole historical picture. How do you know when you go back to look at something historically 20, 30, 40 years ago that there wasn't someone in between when it was created and when you look at it that altered things, that rewrote history? Okay.
Hmm.
And if government records were placed on the blockchain, there'd be this added level of assurance that the record that you see, good or bad, is in fact the genuine record.
Hmm.
So there's no need for it to be just limited to moving funds around. It's it's making us all confident that what we're looking at is the original.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Now I will come to your current venture, and your insights were really great. It actually shaped a lot of things into my mind. So I will now, ask about SureMark Digital, and I was going through the documentation of your venture. I'd like to understand how, I mean, first of all, which technology it is using. Is it using blockchain underlying? And how it is different from a app like Truecaller, which also detects who is calling me. Uh, how it is detect? I mean, different basically.
Right, right. Well, again, we have a policy of not talking about those that are also working on similar and related problems. But what I can say is this, okay? How do you know that you're really talking to the same person that did the original work on the blockchain? It is so easy with AI deepfakes to create something that is not authentic, but is highly realistic looking. Okay.
Yeah,
If you're not sure, how can your viewers be sure?
exactly.
And the answer is that with SureMark, there's a way to use the same principles of distributing the trust throughout the entire community so that I can, in an unforgeable way, establish my identity. I basically create a network of trust. You might call it a vouching network,
Mm-hmm.
where I prove who I am by showing who I know. All of the different social connections I have as
Mm-hmm.
they successively endorse me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
build a web of trust that
Mm-hmm.
is so broad and potentially deep
Mm-hmm.
that to fake it would require not just to try to fake my identity, but to fake the identities of all of the people that I'm connected to.
Oh.
And this is a very similar approach to what we did with the blockchain. We distributed the need to have a trusted third party out throughout the entire community. And so a very similar set of principles have been applied. And you'll be able to see the reality of this because after you've posted this video uh, on YouTube or other social media, I will authorize it using my crowdsourced Suremark credential that uniquely identifies it as only the person who has all of these endorsements from all of these other people. His network of friends and colleagues are all saying, this was the same Scott Stornetta who just endorsed this, that has all of these connections to people. And just like with the blockchain, when the pool of people witnessing it is so wide, there's it is all but impossible to flip it upside down and try to fake it. And it's for that same reason that we actually now are encouraging people, if they really want to both protect their identity and project it, we would strongly encourage them to get a Suremark credential and then use their network of friends to prove that their credential represents the unique person that they are based on all of the contacts that they have. And they can do it in such a way that it doesn't reveal any, it doesn't have to compromise any privacy concerns. So
Okay. Oh.
your viewers will actually see how it works, and
Mm-hmm.
they will know that in fact you had an interview with the person you claim to have interviewed. Um, but what I will do is I will give you as well a limited use credential. It doesn't cost you anything,
Mm-hmm.
and you can countersign it, and that becomes the first piece of evidence as to who you are, because you can begin to prove that you're the
Mm.
person that has conducted all of these interviews. And that gradually builds the credibility of your identity and reputation in the digital world. You can form that same connected community, and then no one will deny, who you are. No one will be able to deny who you are.
Yeah, yeah, it's great, great. So basically, it is. I mean, it's great. It is like if I have to genuinely identify whether this profile is the authenticated profile or not, what we usually do, we check their LinkedIn profile and see who their connections are, or their Facebook profile. Are they from similar organization, similar sector or not? That intelligence you are inbuilting in this product, right? That human
Yeah. And so
intelligence.
what you're doing in an informal way,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing in a cryptographically secure way.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I mean, it's no different than um, when when you meet someone and they ask you for a loan. You say, "Well,
mm-hmm.
I've never met you before. Are there any people that could vouch for you?"
Mm-hmm.
And they say, "Well, these people can vouch for me." And you say, "Oh, well, I know one of those people." And so your network broadens until it starts to intersect with people that they trust, and
Mm-hmm.
then they can nail down your identity. But we're doing all of that automatically and in the background so that it takes minimal effort, but it is fully visible and apparent for the proof. So it allows you to do what you could do in a small town just by checking with finding people that you know, but to do it at scale so that any two people that have never met can both be assured that the person they're speaking with is in fact that one. And you can do that in real time in a phone call
Mm-hmm.
because we have so many impersonation scams that go on now in real time. You can challenge the person right when you're talking to them on the phone to prove that they are the person they claim to be. And that would prevent a lot of fraud for those that have those credentials.
That's really great. That's really great. I'm excited to see those things like, after this call. So now I have one question, the last question I can say. But you can skip the question if you want, but that is out of my curiosity. Like Satoshi Nakamoto mentioned a lot about you and Dr. Harvard in his paper of Bitcoin, right? So, are you by any chance Satoshi Nakamoto, or did you ever meet him? Please pardon me for
Sure.
asking this.
So, again, the first time I read about the Bitcoin white paper was, I'll just tell you one story to give you an example. I got something in the mail from unsolicited from someone with a copy of the Bitcoin white paper. And they basically said, I see that you and Dr. Haber are the most cited references in the white paper. And I also see, because I did some Google search, that you were a missionary in Japan and that you're fluent in Japanese. That seems a little suspicious to me. So does that mean that maybe you're Satoshi? And again, the answer that we give is always the same, okay? Which is, 私はサトシ・ナカモトではありません。でも、サトシだったらそんなことを告白すると思いますか？ I don't know how to say it any clearer than that. Um, Basically, what Stuart and I are saying is no one seems to know who Satoshi is, but we guarantee you that Satoshi knows who we are.
Okay. Okay. So that remains a mystery, a suspense.
Yeah.
Maybe a thriller movie or something on it. But yeah, it's nice. So any suggestion, any one liner you can give to like this new professionals, blockchain developers, on how to protect their application, blockchain application at the age of AI?
Well, first of all, let me be clear. I am a huge fan of AI. Okay. My PhD dissertation at Stanford was actually the first neural networks dissertation that they granted at that university. And so I think there's great positive news about AI, but it does have a little bit of rough around the edges concerns. And yes, people need to address it, but I think it's more about harnessing the power of AI to build value-added applications on top. Um, so my advice really, because I spent several years recently as an investor and mentor to startup companies. My advice more than anything to people that want to build on the blockchain or whatever is to really focus on creating value for your user. Make a real positive difference in the lives of your users, and pretty much everything else will take care of itself.
Okay, okay,
So many creators want to somehow monopolize or become a standard, and then they can essentially extract money from people because they don't have any other choice. And nobody wants to feel like they're being made use of. People want
Mhm.
to feel like you are making yourself useful to them. And so it's really thinking about the users of your product and putting them first. That is the best advice I could give to entrepreneurs and innovators.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really nice and really great. So now, apart from these questions, these your research questions and other things, so I would like to understand in your personal life, apart from research, any hobby or any passion you have, if you like to answer that, like what else you do apart from your research and these things.
Sure. Well, I'm a pretty boring person. I read a lot of history books. I continue to learn in the field of physics, which was where my PhD was. But I think the other thing is if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that the first thing I list is grandfather. I
Yeah.
have three children and six grandchildren, and trying to put them above me is a way of passing on value to the next generation. And so I'm very proud of my children and grandchildren. And quite frankly, I'm very happy that they're still willing to talk to me. I view that as a good sign of success.
They
Um,
get to hear all these blockchain stories and so many interesting stories every time, and so much knowledge they gather.
um, well, I don't know how interested they are for the long term in those things, but they are interested in the fact that I'm interested in them. Um, in fact, we're performing a little musical number this coming Sunday. Four of my six grandchildren are going to perform with me. And so, whether they know me as the father of the blockchain, they know me as the person that they're willing to sing along with. So, that's pretty good for me.
Really, really inspiring. That's really great. So, yeah, Scott. So I think I mean you have given I think answers inside to all of my questions, and I got a lot of different thoughts, like how I was thinking, and it was really great, and it is really really nice to meet with you. Anything I think I have already taken 5 minutes more than the scheduled time. Any last thing you want to ask me by any means?
Well, what I would say is not so much to ask you, but I uh, I look forward to the people that view this podcast
Yeah.
for them to be able to check to see that it's signed and authorized by both me and by you in a way that they can trust that this conversation was real and not fake, and that that will last for years and years down the road. You'll register this as a truly authentic conversation. Even when AI deepfakes become so real that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, this one will have a credential on it that can't be undone.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. I also look forward to that. So nice to meet you, Scott. And I mean, it was great. And in future, I would like to maybe, if possible, if your time permits, I would like to have further post podcasts. I will also research on blockchain. This area I'm finding, I mean, very interesting. So I'm also learning. So looking forward to that. Have a great day. Have a nice day.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
So you've stopped the recording?
Just a second.